Dear learner, you are most welcome into this lesson on the functions of New York. New York is a vibrant center for commerce and business and one of the three world cities, along with London and Tokyo, that control world finance. New York is a powerful industrial center. Manufacturing, primarily of small but highly diverse types, accounts for a large but declining amount of employment. Clothing and other apparel, such as furs, chemicals, metal products, and processed foods are some of the principal manufactured products. Communication center. The city is also a major center of television broadcasting, book publishing, advertising, and other facets of mass communication. It became a major movie-making site in the 1990s, and it is a preeminent art center, with artists revitalizing many of its neighborhoods. The most celebrated newspapers are the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. New York attracts many conventions, and was the site of two World's Fairs, 1939-40, 1964-65. Transport center. It is served by three major airports: John F. Kennedy International Airport and LaGuardia Airport, both in Queens, and Newark International Airport, in New Jersey. Railroads converge upon New York from all points. Tourist center. With its vast cultural and educational resources, famous shops and restaurants, places of entertainment, including the Theater District and many off-Broadway theaters. Striking and diversified architecture, including the Chrysler Building and Empire State Building, and parks and botanical gardens. New York draws millions of tourists every year. Some of its streets and neighborhoods have become symbols throughout the nation. Wall Street means finance, Broadway, the theater, Fifth Avenue, fine shopping, Madison Avenue, advertising, and Soho, art. Other places of interest are Rockefeller Center, Battery Park City, Greenwich Village, with its cafes and restaurants, and Times Square, with its lights and theaters. Of historic interest are Fraunces Tavern, built in L719, where Washington said farewell to his officers after the American Revolution; Gracie Mansion, built late 18th century, now the official mayoral residence; the Edgar Allan Poe Cottage, and Grant's Tomb. In New York Bay are Liberty Island, with the Statue of Liberty, Governor's Island, and Ellis Island. Administrative and political center. New York City is the seat of the United Nations and other important regional and international organizations. Cultural center. Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts is a complex of buildings housing the Metropolitan Opera Company, the New York Philharmonic Symphony Orchestra, the New York City Ballet, the New York City Opera, and the Juilliard School. Also in the city are Carnegie Hall and New York City Center, featuring performances by musical and theatrical companies. Among the best known of the city's many museums and scientific collections are the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Museum of Modern Art, the Neue Galerie, the Museum of the City of New York, the Museum of Jewish Heritage, a living memorial to the Holocaust, the American Museum of Natural History, with the Hayden Planetarium, the Museum and Library of the New York Historical Society. The American Museum of Natural History, with the Hayden Planetarium, the Museum and Library of the New York Historical Society. Educational Center. The New York Public Library is the largest in the United States. Major educational institutions include the City University of New York, Columbia University, Cooper Union, Fordham University, General Theological Seminary, Jewish Theological Seminary, New School for Social Research, New York University, and Union Theological Seminary. A center for medical treatment and research, New York has more than 130 hospitals and several medical schools. Noted hospitals include Bellevue Hospital, Mount Sinai Hospital, part of Mount Sinai NYU Health, and New York Presbyterian Hospital, encompassing Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center and New York Weill Cornell Medical Center. Summary. Under the functions of New York, we have covered the different roles the city plays to benefit the people both in the area and the non-residents. These include administrative center, for example, United Nations headquarters; commercial center; religious, cultural, and educational center; industrial center; transport and communication center; political center; tourist center; financial center. Make a comparison between New York and Kampala after watching this video. Problems created by the site of New York. The problems created by the site of New York to the planners were many, but the 4 explained below were outstanding. 1. The rivers Hudson, Harlem and East separate the city into 2 islands, that is Manhattan and Long Island, thereby making communication quite difficult, and the rivers become the main means of transport. 2. The rivers are quite wide, causing some difficulties in crossing them and bridging. Bridging needs a lot of skilled labor, money and time, thus making the construction of these bridges along the rivers very expensive. 3. The mainland areas, especially around Jersey City, is flat and swampy, thus making it liable to flooding. 4. The hard underground rocks which made the construction of tunnels joining the different parts of New York difficult. Solutions to the problems as the following. The first, that tunnels have been constructed under the Hudson River. Second, road bridges especially over the East River and railway tunnels have also been built. Thirdly, overhead railway and elevated highways have also been constructed. Fourthly, there are many helicopters and other facilities to help in additional forms of transport. Also, many ferries are being used to facilitate transportation. Ferry landings have also been constructed in many places. Similarity between New York and Mombasa. Both are main towns and suffer from little silting. Both cities are located on islands. Both are located at river mouths. Both have a low tidal range. Both have deep and natural sheltered harbor. For both, the entrance to the harbor is free from coral reefs. Both suffer from occasional fogs. Both harbors are ice-free all year round. Both ports are found on the eastern sides of the continent.